Time for some more common knowledge. Let's look at some common Magic the Gathering cards, see if they're in or good for the Pauper format. I'm sure I could have said that better, but I didn't. So let's keep going. Ixali's Keeper is 1 and a green for a 2/2 human shaman. For 7 and a green, and tap and sacrifice this creature. Target creature gets +5/+5 and gains trample until end of turn. It's a grizzly bear. It's a grizzly bear, but it's a human shaman. And it's got this wild text. If you have 8 mana and are willing to sacrifice this creature and it's still on the table, I suppose you can use it at instant speed. So you could use it to block with, or you could use it on the offensive. Better than a grizzly bear. Not by a heck of a lot. It is, I guess, better creature types. And, it's not that much better than a grizzly bear. Let's give it a 2.1. And no, 2.1 is too high. That's way too high. It's like a 1.7. 1.7, maybe even a 1.6. Not too good. Nullify, double blue for an instant, counter target creature or aura spell. Well, when you're in Pauper, you just have counterspell. you use that 2 mana, you use a counterspell. You also have access to Mana Leak. You also have access to so many other cards that can counter so many other kinds of spells. It is nice that this counters to different things, creatures or auras. That is, specifically good against Bogles, I guess. But auras are a little bit, probably a little bit cute. You don't see a ton of auras outside of Bogle's decks. There are some, but not a ton. And even creature countering is not the most played kind of counter. You see Essence Scatter a little bit. But most of the time, you're looking for things that counter everything, like Counterspell or like a Spellstutter Sprite or like a Metallic Rebuke, like just something that's a general purpose. This counters everything. Or you're looking for more specific but also cheaper counter spells. You're looking for your Force Spikes. You're looking for your Spell Pierce. You're looking for your Envelops. You're looking for your Annuls. Those put in a little bit more specific work, which is why they are better sideboard cards. I don't think you'd necessarily sideboard this in because you'd find the cheaper options that you'd sideboard in addition to your counter spells or your more general kinds of counter spells. So I don't think Nullify really shows up anywhere. Interesting that it's only been printed in Born of the Gods and never again. It's not particularly great. I think we can give this a... I think this can get a 2. I think it's okay. But not really seeing any serious kind of play. For good reason. Nav Squad Commandos is 4 and a white for a 3/5 human soldier with Battalion whenever this creature attacks and at least 2 other creatures attack. This creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn and you untap it. Okay, 5 mana for a 3/5. Okay, I suppose. 5 mana for a 4/6 with Pseudo Vigilance. Okay. The problem, of course, is that you need 3 creatures, and you need to be able to attack with all of them. And in white, you can certainly go wide, but how many times can you go wide to be able to continue to trigger this time and time again? It's also just a vanilla creature at that point. Like, yeah, the Vigilance, I suppose, the Pseudo-Vigilance kind of helps it, but you're not breaking through for combat damage all that much. And I think if you already have 3 creatures that you're willing to attack with, you're in a good spot where you don't necessarily need a creature like this. You could just keep coming in with lots of other little creatures that probably does a little bit more overall. I think this card is not very impactful generally, and that's going to be its downfall here. I think you can give this a 1.8 and probably never think about it again. Shock. Oh, Shock. What a card. What a card. It's not a lightning bolt, but it's pretty darn close. Look at how many Shocks we've gotten over the years. Lots of Shocks. Lots of shocks, all the way back to Stronghold. Shock is a very classic card. There's a lot of pretty good ones. Actually, let's go back to the View All prints. What's my favorite shock here? I mean, this art, just the original art, I'm a big fan of, and also the retro frame. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to me. I think I've got this version in my white bordered cube. A nice 6th edition one. It might be the 7th edition, but I'm pretty sure it's the 6th. Might actually even be the beatdown box set one. Yeah, those are kind of the only shocks I like. I don't particularly like most of the newer shocks. Um, yeah, yeah. Anyway, shock. What a classic, right? Um, in terms of what you give shock in 2025, does this get played? Because you have to play your lightning bolts. You'd have to play your chain lightnings. You might play your lava spikes over this. Lava spike only does 3, but it only works on players. But if you're in a burn deck, that's probably there. Are you playing your lightning strikes before you're playing shock? Lightning strike is 3 damage, but it's 2 mana. Shock is 2 damage, but it's 1 mana. You know, it's tough. I'm gonna give shock a 5 because I truly do not know where it goes in today's metagame. I think it's always going to be good. It's shock, baby, but it's never going to be lightning bolt. So I don't know. I don't know. I think we've gotten enough. I think we've got enough shocks with extra stuff on them. Also, you have your burst lightnings and stuff like that, and your torch the tower. Yeah, torch the tower. That one works, right? Torch the tower. 2 damage to creature or planeswalker. Okay, so that one doesn't go face, so that's important. But it does have the bargain, so that can be useful. And the exile is interesting on Torch the Tower as well. But you have your burst lightnings that I would also play over shock, right? Burst lightning, 2 damage to any target. So it's just a shock, but with a kicker that can do even more damage. So yeah, shock's out of the format at this point, right? How many of these do you need? You have your 4 lightning bolts, your 4 chain lightnings. Let's say you play 4 burst lightnings. Do you want lava spike? Lava spike's probably pretty decent. If you're thinking about red burn stuff, you're probably thinking about fire blast. You're thinking about oh god, what's the word? The one that does 1 damage and then is it volcanic something? No, it's not. That's not what it's called. Well, I just had the name on the tip of my tongue. It's not volcanic. You know exactly what I'm talking about, though. The one that deals 1 damage and then has a flashback of sacrifice a mountain and it deals another damage. I'll remember it at some point. I don't play Red Burn. I don't remember all the names of all the cards, but I know we have other cards that we just generally play that are better than Shock. And that's sad, but I'm still going to give Shock a 5. I could not live with myself if I gave Shock anything less than a 5. That is classic Magic. It should always be somewhat relevant. Shock's 5. Shock's 5. Guildsworn Prowler is 1 and a red, or red, I'm still thinking about mono red cards. 1 and a black for a 2/1 Tiefling Rogue Assassin with Death Touch. And when this creature dies, if it wasn't blocking, you draw a card. Huh. It's cute. But, the Death Touch, 2/1 Death Toucher for 2 mana is not bad. You're forcing your opponent to block with it, and when they do and kill this creature, you get a card out of the deal. You get a dead creature on their end, and you draw a card. It's kind of a 2-for-1 when you think about it. And 2 damage over time is enough to piss off an opponent enough to make them want to block. So I think you will get the value out of this card. Even if they lightning bolt this thing, you still get the card. anything but exiling it, I suppose. Or you blocking, but that's on you to keep attacking with this thing. Or, you give up the card, but you take out a big creature because you have a death touch blocker. I don't hate it. I just think we have better, more efficient ways of getting card advantage in black, and also better ways of killing creatures. My problem with a card like this is it gives the opponent a little too much control over when they give you a card, what creature they lose, that kind of stuff. It does put pressure on them, but it does give them that choice of, well, I don't want to give them the card this turn, so I'll let it go through. I don't want to give it this big creature that I've got, so I let it go through until I can put a token down on the table or something like that. That, because the opponent gets a little bit more agency on when the death happens, I end up liking this just a little bit less. Still, I think it's pretty solid though. Tiefling's not a very useful creature type, but Rogue Assassin, that's not a bad creature type if you're going for like an Outlaws kind of build, or there's some stuff with rogues that you can do. Assassin's Creed brought in some stuff with assassins. I don't know how much of that is useful in Pauper, but it is something to note, something to look into. I don't hate this guy. And I'll give him... I guess you could also use this in like a sacrifice deck. Creature dies, trigger, draw a card. This guy. It won't be blocking in that case. I mean, I guess you could sacrifice it when it's blocking. But you shouldn't do that. don't do that. I don't know. I kind of like this little guy. I'll give him a 2.8. Not a terrible little card. Banalish Missionary is a single white mana for a 1/1 human cleric. For 1 and a white and tapping this creature, you can prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by target blocked creature this turn. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by target blocked creature this turn. Okay, so your opponent is swinging in with a big guy, and you block with this guy. You could block with this guy, and then pay the 1 and the white and tap him, and you prevent all the damage that gets done to him because that creature that you're blocking is blocked. Makes him a halfway decent blocker. Kind of gives him a form of regenerate in a way, although a little bit more restricted than regenerate, because if your opponent tries to hit you with a lightning bolt or something, obviously you can't do much about that. But, it's a very cheap blocker that you get to put out very early in the game and potentially can use it every turn. That's a lot of mana that you'd sink into this over time, so it's probably not completely worth it, but it's also, you can't completely write it off. Human stack, cleric stacks, I don't know. I'll give this a 2.3. Not amazing, but I think it has its place and can do some cool things. Riptide Biologist, we have done this card before, believe it or not. It wasn't very good. Protection from Beasts is not a very good ability, and the Morph is not very good either, but cool art, and we've done it before. Field Mist Border Post is 1 and Azorius mana, or 1 white-blue. For an artifact, you can pay 1 and return a basic... Have we done this one too? I feel like we've done this one too, right? You can pay 1 and return a basic land you control to its owner's hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. It enters tapped, and it taps for white or blue. I'm pretty positive we have done this. Because I'm not really that familiar with this card, other than the thought that I have talked about this exact card on this exact show. I'm going to say these are not very good. 3 mana rocks, especially 3 mana rocks that are tapped. Also technically a 4 mana rock. Because you have to pay the 1 unless you're returning a basic land, which again, it's kind of like paying an extra 1. Although it says return a land you control that's, it doesn't say an untapped land. So I suppose you could tap the land to get this out and then bring it back. But it also says a basic land, so it can't be a Bajuka Bog that you bring back or something that could be really useful like that. Yeah, I think these cards are pretty bad. I would give them a very low score, but I'm pretty positive we've done them before, so I will skip and not use that. Opt. Oh, I don't know if we've done Opt before. I don't think we have, and I hope we haven't. But I'm going to talk about Opt. I love Opt. I think I love Opt more than I should. We have probably better cantrip effects these days in Pauper. We probably had them before because we had Ponder, we have Brainstorm, we have Preordain. You know, there's lots of cards that you could say are potentially better than Opt. This I think is the best art, by the way. If you're asking me about my love of Opt, although the original Opt is pretty good. But this is generally the Opt that I tend to use. I guess I use the Dominaria one the most. That's a list printing, but the Dominaria one the most. Anyway, Opt. What a card. What a card. It's in standard right now. You should play Opt. Opt is so good. I think in like the blue cantrips that warm my heart the most, Sleight of Hand is always going to be number one. Also available in standard. Opt is number two. I just think these cards are great. Single blue mana for an instant. You scry one, you draw a card. That is clean. That's some clean magic right there. It's so simple. It makes so much sense. It's fantastic. Opt. What a card! What a card! I'm never sad to see an Opt. You open a pack. This is why this is one of the reasons I love Pauper so much. You open your pack and you're going through commons, and most of the time you're just running through the commons so you can get to maybe the really cool uncommons or the even cooler rares, and maybe you got a mythic in there, and that's what's my holographic card going to be like? I care about this so much, but you're going through the commons, like the trash of the pack, and you get an Opt and you go, that's a good card right there. That's a good usable card. You'd use that in every draft that you had. Opt is so good. Opt is so good. I love Opt. What do you give Opt? What do you give Opt these days? It's not as good as Brainstorm. It's not as good as Ponder. It's not as good as Preordain. There's even a handful of other ones that probably are better than Opt. But I love it. I love it. I also just love saying Opt. It's a great name. It's a great name for a great card. I'm going to give Opt probably a better score than it deserves. I'm going to give it 6.9 because Opt is just a nice card. Just a nice card. Man, I'm so glad we got Opt today. I'm very happy about that. Anointer Priest is 1 and a white for a 1/3 human cleric. Whenever a creature token you control enters, you gain a life. It also has Embalm for 3 and a white, so you can exile this card from your graveyard for 3 and a white and create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a white zombie human cleric with no mana cost. Embalm only as a sorcery. This is interesting, right? Like you see a number of the kind of Soul Sister style variants. Soul Sisters work on both you and your opponent's creatures entering, but plenty of other ones that only work on yours. And for this one to have a bigger butt than most of the other ones do, being a 1/3, it can block a halfway decent amount of creatures. That's okay. Only working for creature tokens is interesting. We certainly can make plenty of creature tokens in Pauper. The real problem is that Soul Warden exists in Pauper. You can just play a Soul Warden on turn 1. You'll probably gain more life over the course of the game. Now, Soul Warden dies pretty quick, and once it's in the graveyard, it's in the graveyard. This having the Embalm, even though the Embalm is pretty expensive, it still has Embalm. It still has value in the graveyard. If you mill this into your graveyard, you're not feeling too terrible because you still have the ability to get this out. It's got some value, but I think if this said whenever you create a token you control gain a life, I think we'd really be talking there, because you can make some clues, you can make some foods, and that would be pretty sweet. But that's not what it says. It wants a creature token, and those are a little harder to come by. So let's give this a 3.2. 3.2. Sorry. I've got this catch in my throat that I cannot get rid of. It seems to only happen when I'm talking, and it's a bummer. Automatic Librarian is 3 mana for an artifact creature that's a construct. It's 3/2, and when this creature enters, you scry 2. That's pretty normal and pretty uninteresting, unremarkable, unfun. It's 3/2 for 3 is not great stats, not terrible stats, but not great stats. Scry 2 when it comes into play is not amazing. You get a Scry 2 off of a candy trail, and that costs 1. It's not a body, but that can matter. And after it's there, it's just a vanilla 3/2. This is nothing. Nothing. We'll give this a 1.4. I'll give it a 1.5, in fact. And we'll move on to our final card of the day, Smoke Shroud. Ooh. Smoke Shroud. This one's going to be tough. Smoke Shroud is 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura. Enchants a creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. Whenever a ninja you control enters, you may return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature. Okay. This one's tough because you think you know exactly the deck that it goes in. And I thought this too, because I have a fairies deck that plays the ninjas, and it all sounds really good, right? +1/+1 in flying. So you put this, you get to put this on a ninja. Cool. It flies. It's bigger. It deals more damage, and then it's a way of making your ninjas work, right? Like making your ninjas work better. Like you kind of don't even need the fairies at that point, right? Because the ninjas can fly over and ninjutsu themselves. That you can even ninjutsu your ninja, and this will fall off because the creature went back to your hand, and then your ninja comes into play, and this thing comes back from your graveyard attached to your ninja and deals the extra damage. And okay. Now, why do you need to ninjutsu a ninja? You generally don't. I suppose you could for the Moon Circuit hackers, because those draw the card and keep the card if they came into play that turn, but they have to loot. They have to draw and then discard if they didn't. So that's a way of making your Moon Circuit hackers gain a little extra value, I suppose, by ninjutsuing them. But the other thing, we talk about it all the time with auras, is that, it sucks when somebody destroys the creature and that means the aura gets lost too. It's like getting 2 for 1. And in this one, if you get another ninja out, this attaches automatically to it from the graveyard. You get a form of protection, not protection, but you get a way of getting that value back. You get paid back. You can get paid back multiple times over the course of a game. Seems good, right? I don't think this card is bad, but I think also generally the fairy decks don't need this card. They do fine without it. And so it kind of has no place to go. I love this card a lot. I bought 4 copies. I thought, it's silly that nobody plays this card. And I played it a few times. And most of the time, I was just like, I don't think I need this card. I don't think I need this card in the deck to work. If I was already getting my game plan of ninjutsuing fairies for ninjas and doing the damage and then replaying the fairies, I didn't really need Smoke Shroud. I was doing just fine. And if I was behind, I didn't really feel like I was getting the value out of it. It's really weird because it seems like such a slam dunk. And I still want to give it a halfway decent score for this, but I don't think it's actually all that good of a card. And that makes me really sad because I think it's so cool. I think it's so cool. Just the name, the ability, the way for it to come back. I think all that stuff's great. But I also just don't think it necessarily makes the cut. Maybe if you had like more of a pure ninja deck that also had some kind of enchantress theme with it. So you getting the extra value of having an enchantment come into play and being able to ninjutsu and do that even again like on the same creature. Like you have your moon circuit hack. You have two moon circuit hackers, one in the hand, one on the battlefield, and it only costs a single blue to ninjutsu, and so you can do that, and you can do ninjutsu multiple times in a single combat step with a single creature because that creature continues to still be unblocked. So you just keep ninjutsuing. This keeps falling off and then keeps coming back onto the battlefield, and so it can come back onto the battlefield multiple times. So if you have, isn't there like a Duskmorn slug? let's look. This is going to be our last card. I'm not going to do a bonus card this time because I'm just interested in this. Is it a slug? Maybe it's black. It's in Duskmorn. Yeah, Baelmerk Leech. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, each opponent loses 1 life. So imagine playing a Dimir deck, and I'm sure there are other cards similar to this, but now you're just chaining the Smoke Shroud. I want to build this deck now. I want to build this deck and like find a good place for Smoke Shroud to live. I'm going to write this down, at least. Baelmerk Leech / Smoke Shroud. That's interesting. I think there's something kind of there. It's probably too cute, but I think it's pretty cool. What do we give Smoke Shroud then? Did I already give it a score? I feel like I already gave it a score. I already crossed it off here, so maybe I did give it a score. Did I give it like a 3 something? Yeah, like a 3.6 maybe. Is that higher or lower than what I said before? Did I say anything before? I don't know. Let's end it there. Obviously my brain is rotting, but Smoke Shroud, what a card. All right, see ya.